What is up, Blue Demon fans, and welcome back to another episode of the Blue Demon Banter podcast brought to you by WeAreDePaul. We have a lot to talk about in this week's episode, talking about the Detroit Mercy game, talking about all things DePaul basketball, and so much more. We have a great guest on today's episode, none other than senior writer for WeAreDePaul, Dan Stack. Dan was on in
Yep.
episode 1. How are we doing today, Dan?
Very well. Just like we were talking earlier, we're getting our act together before Thanksgiving, and we got food and feast, and then a game on Friday and Saturday, and then a whole load of stuff to come after that. And we got
Yep.
Christmas coming, so we're in the midst of the holiday season. So I'm feeling a little more
Yep.
jovial than usual.
Yeah, it's gonna a busy time for everyone. Busy time here, and we got since the last time you've been on, we previewed the season all the way back before the season. Since then, DePaul's 4-2, dropped games to Buffalo and Northwestern back to back, but have rebounded, beat Gardner Webb, and then took care of business on Sunday against Detroit Mercy. So, from you watching from afar, what have you kind of seen from this DePaul team over the course of the past 3 to 4 weeks?
Inconsistency. They've been showing good traits and bad traits in all their games. Like you get the big good and the bad in all the games. And that bad part against Buffalo was really, really bad. And they just dug a too big of a hole to dig out of in that game. They made it they got it down to a 1 point game. But otherwise, there's been good stretches and bad stretches. Like you say, they've been good at it in one half and bad in the other half. So the consistency is there, and that's something that I hear and reading that Holtman is stressing to the team, and especially they got to sharpen up the defense, which you wrote about today. Good article on what we need to do on defense and good effort. We have the athletes to compete at the higher levels, and they're just getting used to the grind of working 40 minutes and getting to know each other and working on that. And the offense was really a blessing on Sunday. That was really impressive to see and encouraging. They shot over close to 50%. Like I can't remember the exact amount, but they came close to 50%, and they jumped a lot of points in their free-throw percentage nationally. I think they're an average shooting team now, but that was a little question mark going into like the Mercy game because they were struggling from three for most of the season. So CJ got hot in the second half and it just rolled out, and then it was contagious and other people were shooting. Everybody, I think 7 people hit a three that game.
Yep.
So I'm impressed with the increased defensive effort coming into the next couple of games, and and defense just starting to materialize, and it's got to be there for a great efforts from the start of the tip against Georgia Tech. So it's all about consistency, battling on defense, and getting better shots from the offense for Freeze.
Yep, I totally agree. When Holtman, talked in Tuesday's media availability, the biggest thing that he kind of stressed was you got to play defense for 40 plus minutes, or 40 minutes. You got to play defense for the whole entire game. You can't let up, and we've seen that from DePaul. They've let up a little bit, and while it could be due to the big leads they got out to in second halves, and obviously they got to a point in the second half against Detroit Mercy where they were up for most of the second half by 16, 17, 18 points, and you can see them take a little bit off the gas pedal, and Holtman has stressed to his guys like you got to play defense for all 40 minutes, and the offense was nice to see in that second half, but as we've seen with DePaul, it's not going to always be there, the offense, and in that first half it was bad. The offense was
Yeah.
bad against Detroit Mercy in the first half.
No, true.
Stagnant. Just it was not great in the first half, and obviously they found a rhythm in the second half, and that's when, as you Dan said, they finished shooting the ball well, and they did finish 50% from the field, so they were 30 for 60 from the field in that game against Detroit Mercy. So they did do some nice things. They got hot, but when the offense, is not carrying itself, the defense has to step up, and it did in the first half, and that's credit to DePaul. They were ready defensively, and even though Detroit Mercy got off to a nice 7-0 run, and they led for a lot of the first part of that first half. DePaul answered back. DePaul answered back, and the offense started to click. And that's what it's nice to see from this DePaul team, because Holtman knows, and Holtman has said in the past that this defense is going to be the staple of the team. They have to rely on their defense if they want to do anything this year. And the defense is starting to come together, but they have to play for 40 plus minutes. They have to. Like, they have to play a complete game for 40 minutes defensively every night. And it'll give them a shot to win. And we saw that against the Northwestern game because that was a great game. That was a great battle. They thought they did a great job defensively, did a great job offensively. Just they couldn't get the job done. But I thought they did a lot of great things in that game against Northwestern, which is the first time we're talking about that since we
Yeah.
previewed that a couple weeks ago. But I think DePaul is playing basketball well in recent games, and they're trending up. I really do believe they're trending up, and I think it has to do with their freshmen, Dan. I know you're a big fan of the two freshmen, Kruz, McClure, and Fabian. What have you kind of seen from those two guys as we kind of head here into the Emerald Coast Classic?
Yeah, I mean, I'll start with Fabian because I'm just flabbergasted by like I mean I thought he would be like redshirted and then yeah and then I see they redshirted Medina and said we'll bring him along slowly. I remember Scott
Yeah,
wrote that story about Holtman said we're going to bring him along. He's in there after like I don't know who was on the court. I think it was Benson and Banks. They gave up like four offensive rebounds in the game against the game prior to Northwestern that he put him in. I forget that it was the
Buffalo.
no the after it was Stonehill.
Yeah,
No,
Stonehill was
yeah,
before Buffalo.
no, after Buffalo. They
After
played.
Buffalo was Northwestern.
So yeah, it's a Buffalo game. It's definitely the Buffalo game that Flores made his debut. I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. You played 3 minutes
Um,
in that game. 3 minutes.
yeah. But and then after and they put him in the Northwestern game and they showed really good glimpses. And I'm just like, he's going to be a rotation piece. And now we were thinking maybe he could be like a starter because
Hmm.
his court awareness is great. And like, you know, the adage is when you look at big men, you look at their feet and their hands, and he's got great footwork, good hands. The only thing I'm a little worried about. I thought he would be a bigger shot blocking threat. I haven't seen like him like intimidating shots that way. I mean, like, when the people get in the post, they get a little afraid of him, but he
Hmm.
doesn't seem like he have that active, aggressive like the hunt block shots. But which is good because he's a pretty good rebounder. When you're that big, um, you got to be a good rebounder, and he brings that to the court. And so I'm really surprised by his progression already. He's got. I mean, if this is just the beginning, and what if he's here for another couple of years? I want to see that way through. He's going to be a really good player. And Kruz, he's just a natural on the floor. He just has the feel for basketball. His high IQ, basketball IQ is off the charts. He's so smooth. He makes good reads on the offense. Even though he's not a true point guard, he can handle the ball. He can shoot the ball a little. I thought he's shooting better than I thought he was. I mean, we knew he could hit threes in high school, but this is major college basketball, and he's shown he's got a good stroke from threes. He's got good handles. And he's just got to work on his defense. But any freshman coming off from the high school level, always an adjustment period. So I'm really excited the progression, how fast it's coming for Flores and McClure.
Yeah, you could kind of tell with Cruz, like right away, you could see that he was going to make an impact in year one. You just kind of saw it in early on and in practices and all that. And he really made an impact. And I asked him today, just like his confidence when he's on the court. Obviously, he's 18, 19 years old. He's going on the court. He's playing guys who are 22, 23, maybe even 24 years old. So
Yeah,
guys that are a lot older than him, a lot more experienced. But he told me that like he's confident on the court. He believes he trusts in his ability and all that. And I just think he has so much confidence in the court that he's not afraid to let it fly. He's not afraid to take it to the basket. And we saw him kind of take over that Northwestern game. And it sucks that DePaul couldn't come away with that victory. But I think
yeah,
that was kind of the coming out party for Cruz. And he should just continue to get better as the season goes on. Has to work defensively. As you mentioned, you see opposing teams kind of going at him defensively. But what I love that Holtman's doing is Holtman is letting him figure it out on the court. Because Holtman could easily be like, yeah, you made a
yeah,
mistake. Like, you
yeah,
know, go to the bench. But he's letting him go out there, letting him improve, letting him grow on the court. And I think that's so, so key for him. And he kind of talked about today or on Tuesday in his media availability that the biggest difference between, high school ball and AAU and college level is the physicality. But, he feels like he's getting to a point where he's getting used to it a little bit more. So I think it's been, a great showing for Cruz and Fabian, man. It's just seeing him in the paint is just it's kind of crazy because like it's been a while since DePaul has had a player that big inside. Like even you
yeah,
go back to like the Nick Ogenda days, like he was big inside, but nowhere near as tall as Fabian. And Fabian can make an impact. And you hope the blocks come along as he gets more reps in the paint. But it's really been encouraging to see Fabian and Cruz and for DePaul to really improve as a team and get better. It's gonna really depend on how those two develop throughout the year and how much time they're going to get come conference play. Because we know as conference play comes, the rotation might slim down just a little bit. We'll see what happens there, but I just think it's a very interesting and key sign for DePaul to have two freshmen come in and immediately make an impact. Like I think that I don't know when the last time that has happened, and I know you've been covering the team for a while. So like, is this like something? How new is this for DePaul to see two freshmen come in and just make an impact?
Well, it's strange. Under the NIL transfer, it's really kind of a new thing that people
Hmm.
like overrate. I mean, overrate the freshman class
Yeah.
because they think when you have these guys in the portal for the longest time and been out, they're veterans and they're used to things. They unless you're like a McDonald's All American, your freshman should be like on the bench learning. And but I think Holman. This was his first true recruiting class. I think he inherited Riddle and um, I guess he made a mistake with Siko Kane, but he really had when his first full year to recruit, he got McClure. And he saw a lot of things in him. And he was a 4-star recruit. He's not like a quality 3-star that needs a little. But no, he looks like he's ready, and you know it's all about confidence. Vin, like you said, he's got it, and he's just improving on it. And I can't wait to see what he has in store.
Yep. I agree. I think those two, especially Kruz, I'm excited to see how he continues to develop and how he develops into next year. But now we'll turn things over to the Emerald Coast Classic. DePaul will be have traveling to Destin to play in the Emerald Coast Classic. It's a 4-team tournament between DePaul, Georgia Tech, Drake, and LSU. And in the first round, DePaul will play the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, who ranked 98th on KenPom. DePaul is right behind them. So it's going to be a close matchup. And then after that, depending on what they do in that game against Georgia Tech, excuse me, they'll play either the winner if they beat Georgia Tech and LSU and Drake, or the loser of Drake and LSU if they lose against Georgia Tech. But when looking at KenPom, all these teams are pretty close. Obviously, of the bunch, according to KenPom, LSU is the best. But I just want to get your thoughts on how you think DePaul is going to fare in this tournament, this weekend.
I think they can do well. I mean, they're starting to play a little bit better. They know the step in competition is going to be coming there, but they had at least one power game against Northwestern to give them a little bit of prep, especially prepping for guys like Martinelli. I don't really know. I haven't really checked in on Georgia Tech's roster. I know Dane Snyder's a pretty good coach. Can recruit well. I saw a couple of their game. They're athletic too. Um, you know, um, but they can definitely hang with the likes of Georgia Tech and Drake and LSU and even LSU. I mean, I don't know much about that, but I gotta be honest about that.
Hmm.
But this is a renewed help. DePaul hasn't done anything in preseason conferences for the longest time. I don't think they've ever won a conference tournament since like that they didn't host since I think actually Steve had it on the board since 1982 when they had a tournament in Japan.
Wow.
They had beat like a 2-game. So it's been a long time since they won and it's also been a long time since they even won one game in a tournament. They always come in last place. So it's always a bummer at this time of holidays. These classics roll up and we always get smoked. But I think they can compete, definitely compete, and I give them a good chance of winning. I put some money on it.
Yeah, I think Georgia Tech. I feel like they're pretty evenly matched with Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech went to the Emerald Coast Classic with a 5-0 record, but their wins, aren't impressive. They beat
Yeah.
Maryland, Eastern Shore, Bryant, Southeastern Louisiana, Georgia Southern, West Georgia. So they haven't really played a lot of you know tough opponents. All those teams have a negative strength of schedule on Georgia Tech's schedule, so they're not playing anyone tough at all. And the one game that did play someone tough, they lost to Georgia. It was a close game, but Georgia did beat them 92-87. So it's going to be an interesting game. I think DePaul has a great shot of beating Georgia Tech in that first game on Black Friday. I really do. I believe what DePaul has shown in recent games, I should say. I think they've shown a lot of great things, and I would love to see them to go in there and make it to, the quote unquote championship of,
Yeah.
the Emerald Coast Classic. But LSU is tough. LSU is going to be their toughest opponent, assuming LSU makes it there. But I give DePaul a great shot in this game. I really do. And for their sake, I hope they can make some noise and put them on the map a little bit because after they lost to Buffalo, a lot of people counted them out, saying they should have won that game. But DePaul's an up and coming team. I believe that, and I know we have high hopes for them. We talked about it prior to the season on this episode in episode 1. We talked about that we have high hopes for them, and we got to remember it's a long season. We are only 6 games into the season, and I feel like if DePaul can improve defensively, right now they're 95th on Ken Palm defensively. If they can improve defensively and play 35 to 40 minutes of tough defense every night, it's going to be tough for them to drop a lot of games, coming up. So we'll see. We'll see what happens here. But I want to take a short break here and announce our Black Friday sale. You can get 75% off annual VIP subscriptions to WeAreDePaul.com. The WeAreDePaul team has been working extra hard to bring you a lot of content on your favorite team. To celebrate the holidays, we are offering the lowest price of the year on WeAreDePaul VIP memberships. For a limited time only, new subscribers get a 75% off a VIP subscription to WeAreDePaul for your first year. Remember, this is a good offer for a brief time, so hurry up and take advantage of it. With this annual subscription, you'll get unlimited access to year-round coverage of WeAreDePaul.com basketball recruiting, all from our team of insiders and national experts, and you get the latest scoop on all things DePaul basketball and recruiting. And you also get access to the WeAreDePaul.com forums. We have an excellent, outstanding community of diehard fans discussing anything and everything related to the Blue Demons. Members can see and respond to every single thread in the Blue Demon Room forum. You can also get an ad-free forum experience, so say goodbye to ads and hello to insider news and analysis. And of course, one of the best features is you get an unmatched mobile experience from the crystal ball to the 24/7 composite rankings. No site will bring you more detailed layout of where things stand with DePaul recruits and all things DePaul. So hurry. This offer ends on December 1st at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. You don't want to miss out on this offer. Go, go, go.
So I'm going to jump in here and give you some of our fan testimonials from our diehard fans. I'll give you shout outs if you're watching the podcast, and you should be. Love the Drake too. The ability to engage in thoughtful discussions, debates, and therapy sessions about a team and program that nobody else in my universe cares about at all. This community has been enormous for me because DePaul basketball became an obsession, and this sport is an outlet for me. I didn't even go to this school. Also, and I mean this sincerely, I go to a lot of message boards of opposing teams, and our actual setup is better than all of them. Very easy to read and to digest information, and moderators do a great job of content and keeping everyone involved. And I'm going to my good friend Windy City 76. More like therapy for me, and I appreciate the insight of the premium board offers. I became online friends with many 20 plus years being here, and have been even gone to a game or two with a few members over the years. The pizza party 2 years ago when we got together was great and felt like a meeting family. And I got one more for you. As an out-of-town alum, WeAreDePaul was my only lifeline back to the program. BBD, that's Steve, and me. Sorry. Shout out to Blue Demon Dev. He knows who he is. One of my good friends. And doing an amazing job with insights, coverage, and access you can't find anywhere else. You guys rock. Also, finding a like-minded group that only wanted to see DePaul succeed was another reason to keep coming back. So there's a whole bunch in this thread, and I appreciate all these people being members for all these years. And you come along, you'll have a good time too.
Yep, it's a very, very tight community here at WeAreDePaul. Everyone's welcome. Everyone's welcome. Even if you're not a Blue Demon fan, subscribe. Always wanting to talk basketball, and you get to see the latest news of DePaul basketball year round. But let's kick back into some things DePaul news that kind of broke a few days ago, Dan, we're going to talk about here. And it was the big announcement that the Chicago Plan Commission officially approved new plans for the new DePaul basketball practice facility. For $42.4 million is the new basketball plan there in the Lincoln Park campus. I guess just how big is this from a DePaul basketball recruitment standpoint? And you have a new practice facility that's going to be built. How big is that for DePaul basketball recruitment?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, it's tremendous opportunity for them. I mean, you go by that proverbial saying, you can't bring a knife to a gunfight. And, everybody in the Big East has these dedicated practices or going to, and we were the last or the second to last. I'm not sure. I think Seton Hall and St. John's just upgraded too. It's just, it's a game changer for recruits on visits. You get to see that and Winchester Arena and then the Lake Park campus. There's a good combination of factors that you want to get into. It's a great recruiting tool. Um, you get dedicated space to work out, therapy sessions, modernized gadgets in the place. I think what I'm reading about it is just phenomenal. Like I tip my cap to President Manuel for believing in Dwayne Peavy, the athletic director, and his vision. And I think, this will open so many more doors. I think, and what like Peavy and Manuel say, you know, and it's everybody says this about college sports and leading to college attendance. Athletics is your front porch. People see you on TV. That's how they know you. A lot of people know you. A lot of students, young kids, and they'll see you on TV. They'll see you succeeding. They'll want to come to your school. They'll bump up enrollment. So it's a big boost to not even the basketball, but the university itself.
Yeah, I think it's big, and I know when Holtman, took the job early on, he said that like having a practice facility that was going to be in the works was a big reason why he took this job. Like he saw the vision, and it's great that it was finally approved, and things are probably going to move along now with that, and it's just a great thing to have. It's a great thing. It shows that they're willing to invest in DePaul basketball, and I think this is just there's nothing bad to come out of this, to be honest. This is going to do great things for the program, going to do great things for recruitments. When you bring in recruits and you're trying to recruit them to DePaul and you bring them to this fantastic $42.4 million basketball practice facility, you're going to draw a lot of people. A lot of young kids are going to come in and see that, and they're going to say, I want to practice in that facility. I want to have access to that facility. So it's just fantastic for DePaul that this was finally approved, and I think it's just a sign of what's to come for DePaul. I think DePaul is a program that's on the way up, and I really hope that this is just the start of something big for DePaul and for what's to come. I think this is just this only good could come out of this, to be honest with you. Only good could come out of this, and we'll see how much it helps with the recruiting. Dan. Hopefully,
Yeah.
hopefully it helps out a lot, but we'll see. But I'm glad that it's finally at a point now where it's approved, and it could start kind of going full head of steam here with the new practice facility.
Yeah, I think it's going to be 2 years before it opens. I think they're going to
Yeah,
break ground in the summer, maybe. I think
yeah,
that's the
they expect the
so.
timeline.
So yeah, I mean it's a game changer again. It could be a fantastic selling point again.
Yep, I agree. I agree. Let's now transfer over to a couple more things before we end the episode. Starting with Dan, let's go through some record predictions here for DePaul basketball over the next until the end of the year. So they have a couple of games till the end of the year. Let's just go one by one. We're gonna go by the games, and we're gonna give our predictions if you think they're gonna win or where they're gonna lose and where they might look heading into January. Starting with Friday's game against Georgia Tech. You think it's a win or a loss?
That's a win.
I also think that's a win too. And then I would assume LSU beats Drake. LSU is a better team than Drake. So assume they play LSU in the finals of the ML Club Classic. What do you have for them there?
Well, I don't want to just be too Pollyannish, so I'll say that's a loss because I think they're in the top 40 or 50 in Ken Palm.
Yeah, I believe LSU is 36th.
Yeah,
So LSU will be a tough opponent. So I also will say DePaul will lose that game. But I think they'll give them some fits, LSU, in that
yeah,
game. Because, yeah, they might be 36th, but we
yeah,
saw DePaul play Northwestern, who was top 50 really well.
yeah.
So I think it'll be a closer game than people think, but LSU there. Then we begin December 6th, Arkansas Pine Bluff.
That's a win.
That's a win as well. Morgan State, December
That's
9th.
a win.
That's a win. A road test against Wichita State.
I'm going to say a win. They beat
I
them
also
last
think
year
that's
by
a
they
win.
beat, they beat them by 20 last year. On the road is going to be the tricky part. I know Wichita State's a solid program, but we have that senior core. We'll have a good showcase in that game. Like we got Blocker playing well, Guns playing well. The last couple, the second half of the Detroit Mercy game, and Blocker had a good game at Detroit Mercy. There's going to be confidence carrying over, and I think we'll have enough to get past Wichita State.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good game, but I also think we'll take Wichita State. On the road's tricky, but give me DePaul over Wichita State in that game. And then it gets to conference play, Dan. You got December 16th At St. John's, that's going to be a tough one.
No.
Yeah, that's a
And
loss.
the Big East did no favors. I can
Yep.
jump ahead to you. They're going to lose the next two, and I I usually don't worry about schedules about when you play them, but I'm starting to realize like when DePaul the last couple of years they've always started out 0-2, 0-3, and then it just built and built. And I'm worried about confidence, but I think this team is a little more older and experienced, and with Holtman at the helm, they'll keep them glued together. But I think they're going to be an 0-2 start in the Big East,
Yep.
especially
So,
St. John's. But the one thing I have the silver lining is last year's team did really well in the non-conference because when they're playing against that week, most of it also a weak schedule. They were more equipped to do well in that conference. They were a great offense. They were predicated on ball movement and they had great shooters with Meyer and Enright and Gunn and Isaiah Rivera. But once they got to play the big physical teams, like when they played Texas Tech and then they played St. John's, they got blown off the court. But I think the team that Holtman assembled is more physically adept to Timberland's. We're talking about bigger guys now. We got Benson who could play the. He's probably not going to play the four with Flores, but we got Flores who's big and muscular. You got Benson who's muscular. Macklin's a dog on defense. Um, Even like Jeremy Lawrence is not jacked anybody. He's a great offensive rebounder. Hopefully he gets back to the Georgia Tech game and definitely for the St. John's game. He plays a good role. He's a very intangible driven kind of guy that knows his role. He can rebound and defend. And, we just the X factor is Banks. We were, like you guys talked about that we need him to up his rebounding game. He was a pretty good rebounder in the zone for Tulane because he averaged 6.7, and that's pretty good.
mhm.
He's just getting like almost nothing, like one or zero over a couple of these games. See, he's the X factor. He's got to get going in games like this tournament in Destin. But I think we have a more bigger and physical team to at least make games against St. John's and Connecticut a little more competitive.
Yeah. And before I get to the other game, I want to talk about Banks for a little bit because I really came into the season like I thought Banks was going to be like a difference maker for DePaul, and I haven't seen anything from him in the first 6 games plus the exhibition games, and Holman keeps saying that he needs to work on his motor, and that is a little surprising to hear from a player who you hope would be have a motor, and
Yeah,
one of the things he said about Banks today was he needs for rebound. He needs to improve on rebounding first of all, and it all comes from the motor. So
yeah,
I'm very disappointed in Banks. Like I know it's early, and I know he can turn it around, but I'm disappointed in what he has, how little he has contributed to DePaul so far. And you would hope that as he gets acclimated to the Holtman offense, as he gets acclimated to playing with these players, you would hope that he improves and he drives more and he's more physical on the rebounds, but like you mentioned, once it comes time for Big East play, the physicality increases. You're going to need to match each team's physicality. You mentioned DePaul has it. The Banks needs to step up with it too. Banks needs to be physical, and Banks has potential. We saw it last year with the rebounding at Tulane, the scoring, but I want to see more from Banks. I really
yeah,
do, and if Banks could take that step on both ends, that would be so big for DePaul, massive
definitely.
for DePaul.
He's
But
the he's the ultimate X factor. He can make the season a really good game, a really good season, or just floundering and be an average type of season this year, like kind of
yep,
like last year. I mean, he you watched the Detroit Mercy game. He was really good on offense.
yep,
He was drilling some shots. He was cutting the lane. He had a good putback. Um, and he looked more confident on offense. It's just about defense and rebounding for him. That's all
yep,
it is. I mean, because he's strong. He was struggling both offensively and defensively, but he's starting to pick up the offense a little bit better. But he played strictly zone at Tulane. I wonder if that's messing with his head. So hopefully he gets a lot more practice. What you're saying that we're saying they're concentrating on him, breaking down film, and hopefully we start to see the fruits of his labor eventually and start to be a decent rebounder and defender.
yep. That's the hope there, and hopefully Holman and his coaching staff are improving with him every day, and it seems like they are, so that's a good sign. But he's going to be the key, as both of us mentioned. If he can continue to get better, be more aggressive on offense, make his shots, DePaul will be in a good shape come conference play. But speaking of conference play, you have both of us have them losing to St. John's and UConn. And then to close out on New Year's Eve, they'll play at Villanova to end the December slate. Villanova, solid to start, 5-1, but it's going to be tough to go on the road New
Yeah.
Year's Eve and play Villanova. So what do you got for them in that game?
You know what? I don't think we're not going to have like an 0-8 start again. We're going to win a game we're not expected to win. So I'll say we'll win at Villanova.
Love it, love it. I lean losing, but I'll go with DePaul winning. I'll have some optimism there, and I'll have them winning that game, and hopefully they can take one of these three big East games to start the season. And according to us, we have the DePaul ending the new year or entering the new year with a 9-5 record. So it'd be a nice little record heading into the new year. But before we end this episode, Dan, I just want you, me, to talk about with Thanksgiving approaching here in the next few days. Just one thing as a DePaul fan that you are thankful for. Could be this season, could be in prior seasons. One thing you're thankful for as a DePaul fan.
Well, I touched about it on the ad read about our website. I mean, just not just the website, just the DePaul fan base is the community. We're one big like fraternity. I mean, we're brothers in misery. We bond so well. We're always sticking with each other. We pick each other up. We know we're fighting the uphill battle, but we keep fighting and fighting. And I'm thankful for all the frontline soldiers who are helping me on this war to respectability. And I think we're going to do it soon, and maybe as soon as this year. That's my hope. I'm always an optimist. I'm an eternal optimist, and I always get inspiration from the fan base and sticking with each other and just fighting it out and sticking with each other.
Yep, I'm also thankful for the supporters of We Are DePaul and how much support that they show us and all that. That's great to have. And for me, what I'm thankful for as well as the supporters is I'm thankful for DePaul has two freshmen who are playing valuable minutes in year one and showing some great things. I think that's great for the program, great to see, and I'm excited to see how both of them develop. Fabian and Kruz develop over the next few years. But that's going to do it today on this week's episode of Blue Demon Banter, brought to you by We Are DePaul. We look forward to the Blue Demons playing in Destin this weekend. Hopefully they can come away with a tournament win, beating some team. But Dan, it was great having you on. Fantastic having you on once again. We'll see you again, I'm sure, at some point this season. But as always, guys, go DePaul, go. Have a good one, guys.